Hello, Great Giza Pyramid. The pyramid is located on the plateau at the northeast corner, and the second largest structure on the plateau is located just south and just west. The third largest structure, Building 7, is located again a little more south and a little less west. Now, along with that, we have Building 3, 4, and 5 over here, and 6, 8, and 9 down here. And to understand what the topology reads, I urge you to watch Carl Munk's The Code videos, where he explains the pyramid matrix and how to use it. I am going to take this same layout and look at it on a 2D plane, looking horizontally as opposed to vertically upon it. The larger structure is on a plateau that is actually lower than the other structure, and then the Building 7 is actually on a higher plateau again. This allows the Great Giza Pyramid to actually be physically larger, but yet not as tall, because it is at a lower elevation. Now, when we look at these, that one has a rock garden on top, and again, using the code, we can discuss that rock garden, but this one has a relatively very smooth surface on top, and this one has a relatively even course the entire structure. One really important thing about this structure, number one, is the 35th level has a complete ring around it. Now that ring, according to several people, is approximately, what is that, 20, 30, 40, 50 inches tall. And for the sake of argument, we will call that 1 unit. And you can see that the structure from there up actually has a sweeping pattern, but we're not going to get into that. You can look that on my pyramid phrenology videos, but that will be 1 unit. Everything from there up is shorter, both in elevation and depth, each one of the steps, than that. And for the sake of argument today, we will call these 3/5. This structure has a change in course approximately there, and another change in course up there, actually. Yeah, it's up there. And this one is approximately the same course the entire thing. We'll call this one 3/5 for the whole course. This one would be 3/5, 2/5. Actually, that one's 0. It's practically smooth. And down here, it's 4/5. Now you can go ahead and observe that. You can see it optically, or you can measure it. It's hard to miss. On the top smooth part here, you also notice on one of the sides there's a ground tail that comes down and grounds. Now what this does physically is any brush discharge, static electricity that comes across the surface of these structures is going to dissipate evenly one way or the other, you know, because just like anything else, it goes to where there is less of it. It dissipates. Well, on this structure, the static electricity is quarantined to the surface because the rock garden on top makes it so it can't go off. Of course, today, to alleviate the static electricity, we've put a little antenna up there. And the ring around the bottom would quarantine it from going down to ground, at least until it achieved a high enough voltage to jump that, but for the rest of the time, the structure itself maintained a static electricity bubble around it. So it was kind of like a Van de Graaff generator or a Windhurst generator or something of that nature where static electricity was always being collected on the surface. Now, it doesn't take someone to see that this would have a negative charge in comparison to this. This would even have a less of a negative charge. We'll call that double positive. And this won't have it even less because any static electricity that gets here is going to work its way to the areas of lower gaps and then eventually up into the ether. Now, all of these were isolated from ground because they all had a moat. At least in our model, they're all going to have a moat because this is my model. And those moats would make these three structures be standing out of the water. And actually, I drew it. This moat is slightly below that elevation. And this moat is also slightly below that elevation, but those are a little bit closer because this is actually, the moat in there is at a higher elevation than this, and that's at a higher elevation than this. But that really matters more when we focus on the niche inside the actual arc chamber, where when you read it using the code and you compare it to the marks on the inside and what goes where, and as you read it, then reverse the information out of it, kind of using this as a Rosetta Stone, we get the elevations of the waters. But that's more for once you understand and learn the pyramid matrix and know the code. But for right now, all you got to look at is negative energy, positive energy. You're going to get the difference between the two of them. Where are you going to store it? Well, if you remember, they have this room that is several boxes all lined up at the same elevation, which would be just perfect if we wanted to make a brine water, salt water battery. And we can store the energy within the brine water, salt water battery and utilize the myriad of conduits that are bored throughout the plateau. A lot of them. And, well, I think I'm giving stuff away. But can you see the picture? Because I'm trying to draw it as clear as possible. More information.